whole new Cleveland cape that I'm seeing right now. How you doing today?
My hair's purple.
It looks a
I'm
little
good.
black from where my view and stuff like that. I like it though. It's cute.
It's just dark. I've never had hair this dark, so I keep pulling it back or hiding it. Like if I do down here, for those
Why
people
you
who are
hide
watching on
it?
StreamYard, you can't see it. I'm just not used to it being so dark. It's
Yeah.
like when you have dark hair and then you go lighter, and I'm like, wow, Rachel's got a whole new look going on. I'm trying to. It's only been a couple days. I'm trying to get over it, get used to it.
Yeah, you liking it though?
Yeah.
Okay, looks good on you. I like it. It's
Thank
different,
you.
but I like it. So what's going on with you? How you doing?
I'm good.
Good. Well, we are back. So happy to, be here with our audience. We're going to be talking Super Bowl. We're going to be talking some Cavs. Um, um, Also catchers and pitchers report today. So a lot of stuff going on. So Kate, let's go ahead and get to it. Well, first of all, starting with Browns news, just want to congratulate what's his name? I just drew a blank. What's his name? Our left guard, our left tackle, Joe Thomas.
Joe
Excuse me.
Thomas.
Thank you. I was struggling for a second. I got some memory issues going on.
First ballot Pro Football Hall of Fame.
Yes, he's not the first left tackle to go in there, is he? Because they were saying something about.
No, but
okay, I was about to say.
Sorry, I dropped my phone. If for me, it was very interesting that he made it in on the first ballot because I always struggled to try to understand if he was really as good as we think he was, or if it's like one of those Cleveland things. Like everyone I know from Cleveland loves the movie A Christmas Story because it was made here. But I talk to people in other cities and they're like, yeah, we don't get it. We don't like it. It's stupid. So I always wondered if we just loved Joel Bitonio because he took like 10,000 and some consecutive snaps. He played every game from 2007 to 2017. He was, aside from Phil Dawson, he was like the player we had through all these bad years that was continually on the team. And so I always wondered if we pumped up how good he was because that's what we do with the Cleveland guy, right? So for him to make it into the Hall of Fame on the first ballot really tells me that from a national perspective and from an NFL perspective, he really was one of the best left tackles to ever play the game. And it makes me feel better about the fact that I have a jersey. My husband has a jersey, like everyone I know has a jersey. Mm-hmm. Like just that it's not just a Cleveland thing. Like he really was that good.
Yeah, I had a hard time believing that at first because I'm just like, we went through so many quarterbacks and left tackle.
Right. And so your inclination is we gotta blame the left tackle. If I got a different quarterback in 3 and 4 in a season and all this, but it makes it even scarier when you realize that you had a Hall of Fame guy at left tackle and you still like that's how much was wrong with the entire rest of the team that you couldn't keep a quarterback healthy.
Guess how many sacks he gave up, though?
How many?
31 in his whole career, which I find to just be amazing. And I'm like, we went through all those quarterbacks. So, it's a combination
that's from his
of
side.
The quarterbacks
People would go to the other side. People would double team him and then get someone around. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like they would avoid his side of the line because they knew they weren't getting through.
Yeah, I look at it as a combination of so many different factors. Some quarterbacks just weren't good, like Johnny Manziel and stuff like that, those 1-year quarterbacks. Yeah. So I just look at that as a contingency of a lot of things, why we went through so many quarterbacks. When I look back on it, he talked about at the Sports Awards how Peyton Manning was recruiting him one time at the Pro Bowl. And I don't know if you heard that story or what have you, talking about that he needs to put a Cleveland steamer on top of the desk of, I don't know if it was Jimmy Haslam at the time, but he was like, for sure they'll move you, but he wanted Joe Thomas to come and, block for him because he recognized that he was one of the best in the league. But, pretty impressive stat. So, I'm very excited for him. Nice to have a Cleveland Brown going. It's been a while since we've had one. So I'm definitely excited for Joe Thomas to, be a first ballot as well, to just go ahead and get in there. And a lot of people said he's obviously going to be a first ballot. So I was kind of expecting it, just because of all the hype and stuff like that. So I'm not surprised
Yeah,
at
and
all.
I tickets are hard enough to come by. Once they go on sale, they sell like crazy. So I would tell anyone listening, if you're thinking about actually going to see the enshrinement, um, we probably don't need to get a hotel down in Canton and stay there. You can drive down for the day, or if you wanted to do a couple days, they've got this whole new village set up. The the work they've done there the last couple years has been amazing, and it is really cool to go visit the Hall of Fame. If you've never been to the Hall of Fame, you definitely want to go check it out. Do not go that week because God in the world is in Canton. Go any other week. But if you want to get tickets and go down to see Joe Thomas, and as Browns fans, we got to represent, right? We're going to all need to be getting tickets as soon as they go on sale because they're going to go fast. Looking at this class and all the people that are going to be coming in from out of town, and then all the people from Cleveland who can go because it's just an hour drive down 77. It's just the
77.
drive that tickets are going to go fast.
Yeah, I've never been to the Hall of Fame before.
Girl,
So
I'm going to take you with me this year. I go every year.
do you?
Yeah. Yeah. You should request press passes from the station. I get them with my website. I've got them for the combine. So I'm going to be going to Indianapolis March 1st to cover the combine. But I'll be going down there. I get a hotel because I just stay there for 3 days and do all the stuff. And I don't want to drive back and forth.
So that's
Because
not
we have
for
the Hall of
3
Fame
days for
game, and
Indy,
then
right?
there's the enshrinement, and then there's a gold jacket dinner. There's like a ton of stuff over the course of the weekend.
Oh, really?
So yeah, you should come down, hang out with me.
Okay. Yeah, I might try to do that. And then you were saying you're going to the combine, right?
Yep.
So
Going to
that's
Indianapolis for the combine. I
exciting.
wasn't going to go this year, but I'm like, you know what? I need to go because there was talk at last year's combine. The year before was COVID, so there were no press or anybody there. Last year we were all back in again. It was the last event I did before COVID shut us down. And it was the first event I did that was just full of people without having masks on and everything. And that was all they talked about last year was the fact that the NFL was trying to get them to move this to somewhere else, like to do it in Vegas or LA or like rotate it around. And Indy is a really great city. It's a great place to hold this. Everything is indoors. They've got this kind of skywalk system where from most of the hotels, you can go up to I think it's the 3rd or 4th floor and take a skywalk to the convention center where you never have to go outside. If you want to go outside, you can. And there's just a ton of stuff to do. It's just a really great place to do this. And I know in places like LA or Vegas, you could do it too, but they're so crowded with regular tourists that for the combine, really the only people in town are the NFL people. You can't go to a restaurant without running into the coaches from some team. I had some interesting conversations over the years with coaches from the Colts and from the Jaguars and some other teams. But it's just a really great place to do it. And we can drive there from here in 5.5 hours. So I was like, man, maybe I won't go this year. And then I'm like, you know what? I need to go because if they move it to Vegas or LA, I'm not buying plane tickets to go. I like that I can drive. So I am definitely going this year. It starts March 1st, runs through the 6th. So I've got to get my hotel reservations made and get all my plans and stuff booked. So I will be out at the combine.
Okay, excellent.
So it's like a Tuesday to Saturday or a Tuesday to Sunday. So I can still do the show Monday night and then I can go to the combine and then I can talk about who I saw at the combine because CJ Stroud's going to be there. Quite a few other. We'll take a look and see maybe the week before, talk about any of the local boys aside from Ohio State, but any Cuyahoga County, Cleveland area, like the Kelsey brothers who are in college playing for somebody that might be at the combine this year that we can take a look at and talk about a little bit.
Yeah, that sounds super exciting. So you're going to be there for 5 days. I didn't realize how long it was.
Yeah. Well, I'll drive down the first day. Once they do the schedule, I figure out which days I want to go because I don't need to see all the drills, but they have a schedule. They have activities available each day in the morning and then in the afternoon with drills, bench press, all that kind of stuff that the O-linemen do and all this, just stuff for everybody. And then they have interview time set up where they have this giant hall with 15 podiums where like CJ Stroud and those guys will be standing up there with all the media attention. And then there's another area off to the side where like the 2nd and 3rd tier guys just sit at little tables. And I love talking to those guys because inevitably they've got a story. They are working really hard to get an NFL team to see them. They're not in the national spotlight. They're not, the names that we all know from college games and watching that. Almost every single one has a strong woman in his life, a mother, a grandmother, an aunt, somebody who has encouraged him along the way. And I like those kind of stories. So I like to talk to the guys that aren't getting as much attention from the national media and give them a little coverage. We put them on the Twitter account for Arts or Football. And then I'll write stories up on each of them, little things, and throw them on the website and stuff. So I definitely like to look at, and we'll have the whole list of prospects, and it'll tell me what college they went to and then what their hometown is. So I always look for guys that are from around here to kind of spotlight them. Yeah. And then obviously it's our Ohio State favorites.
For sure. Now, any D2 or D3 guys there at all?
Yeah, but not many. Those guys get invited to something, and the name of it is escaping me, that they have it out in Glendale, Arizona, where the Super Bowl was. They have sort of like, so they do that Senior Bowl down in Alabama just for seniors. Mm-hmm. They have sort of a D2, D3 game that they play, and they go for a week, and they get to interact with NFL coaches, and then they do the game, and they're, like I said, D2 and D3 players. And we covered it last year on our turf. Lisa went, and I don't know if they've reached out to her this year or not. The guy that runs it actually has a book that just came out. He and his wife have visited every baseball stadium in the country and wrote a book about it with pictures over like a 4-year period. They rented an RV, they retired and rented an RV and went state to state, country to country, because they had to go up to Toronto, and went to every Major League Baseball park. So I will get the information on that and let you know, but there is a special one for those guys.
George has a question for us. He said, since the offseason started today for everybody, will the Raiders let David Carr walk before a Wednesday?
Yes.
I'm thinking so too, George. I just don't see a way that you can kind of repair this. He was benched and stuff like that, and he might fit in better elsewhere. So
they've already told him he's not coming back next year.
Yeah,
because he said to them, "Do you want me to stick around? Do you want me at the facility? Like, I understand you're benching me. You're starting this new dude. You're moving forward with him and not me. Do you want me to still participate with team stuff and hang out and do and be support for him, or do you just want me to go away?" And they're like, "Yeah, you can just go." So he went home. Unlike Lamar Jackson, who I firmly believe doesn't want to go back to Baltimore, there's something going on between him and the not evil Harbaugh that tells me their contract talks did not go well. The extension money they offered him, he did not accept. He does not want to come back. So either they're going to have to franchise tag him, or he's just going to go. So I don't know. I don't know if you can franchise tag someone and then trade them so that they have to play for that other team for franchise tag money. But Lamar Jackson's not happy. I don't know how Minnesota stays with Kirk Cousins this year after what happened this year. So there are quite a few teams. If you go down to the NFC South, Tampa Bay, Brady has retired. Atlanta had Marcus Mariota. The Saints had Jameis Winston, who's been injured more than anything this year. And then the Panthers, with God only knows who they're going to have at quarterback.
Yeah.
That whole division is looking for quarterbacks. There's going to be a ton of movement this year. The Raiders have no reason to keep him beyond Wednesday because they can't get nothing for him. Mm-hmm. His contract is up. They're not re-signing him. They don't want him and he don't want to stay. So it makes no sense for them to go beyond Wednesday with making that announcement. But there's going to be the off season from a quarterback perspective is going to be very interesting, because what you also have is one of the best quarterback draft classes coming this year in April. And if you're a top 5 team and you need a quarterback, you can get one in the draft. Or if you can pick up a free agent, you can trade that pick and get a lot for it. But there are 3 teams in the top 5 that don't need a quarterback. And so there's going to be a lot of movement in this year's draft. And I think the quarterback position is the one I'm most excited about as far as offseason move goes and what's going to happen in the draft. Everything else is just pretty normal, but that quarterback position is going to be interesting.
Yeah. First of all, Kate, both Harbaughs are evil.
They are, but the one in Baltimore is a little less evil than the one from the state up north.
Yeah, but he's still evil all the way through. So, they're the lesser of 2 evils, but he's still evil.
He is the lesser brother. That's what we'll call him, the lesser brother.
So we're going to go ahead and take our first breaks. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
communities is by answering questions from Clevelanders like you. And I always get excellent, engaged questions from WOVU 95.9 FM listeners. Cleveland has one of the largest collections of neighborhood and community media in the country. These outlets create community bonds, amplify community advocate voices, and host conversations of consequence. That's why this radio station and I have invited Cleveland's community media outlets to WOVU for a live broadcast roundtable discussion at 4 p.m. on Thursday, February 16th. The next best thing to answering your questions directly is answering questions from those who produce Cleveland's neighborhood and community media. I hope you'll tune in to the WOVU 95.9 FM live broadcast of my community.
Rachel, I'm trying to take a picture of us. Smile at the camera.
On February 16th. Thanks, and we'll talk to you soon.
Oh, Rachel.
This is brought to you by WOVU 95.9 FM, Our Voices United, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday. Happy birthday, WOVU and WOVU listeners. This is Imani Kafuri.
This is Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports of Heard in the Huddle.
And I'm DJ Black Unicorn, production assistant here at WOVU 95.9 FM. And us here at WOVU want to thank you for 5 great years on air. 95.9 FM, a Burton Bell Carr community radio station.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
All right. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle, WOVU 95.9 FM. Remember, you all can always keep it locked on your regular radio dial at 95.9 FM. You can listen to us online at WOVU.org. You can download the WOVU app so you can take us with you on the go. And you can always call the station with any questions, comments, or concerns at 216-271-0959. And I'm here with Cleveland Kate, and we're about to get into this Super Bowl talk. Now, Cleveland Kate, you did not
How
have
was your
a dog.
weekend? Aside from the Super Bowl.
My weekend was pretty good. I didn't really do too much. I'm chill, or whatever. And I've had to scale back on my life a little bit.
Yeah.
But
I colored part of my hair purple on Saturday. And we have ripped out our stairs. So we've been slowly getting rid of all the carpet in our house.
Yeah.
So we had taken all the carpet off the stairs and started putting in new stairs, just wood.
Oh,
so we
really?
got about halfway up the stairs Sunday before the Super Bowl started. And I'm like, that's it. Time out. No more home improvements. Got to watch the Super Bowl. And then that was just a depressing mess. So
you're putting up new wood on your stairs?
Yeah, we ripped the carpet out and then just bought wooden stair treads.
Okay.
Put new treads on, so it'll just be wood. I've already had to warn the grandkids because it's super slippery and they like to run up and down the stairs. And I'm like, you're going to run down those stairs in socks and you're going to.
Yeah.
2 of them already fell. I'm like, dudes,
really?
dudes, you've been in my house 5 minutes with wooden stairs. And I'm like, come on. So they're boys, right? I should expect that from boys. I raised girls. So this whole world of having boys and grandsons is very weird. But Super Bowl. Yeah, I have Chiefs fatigue. I didn't like it. I thought what's her name singing before was really good.
Shirley Ralph.
And she is just beautiful. And I love her voice. And my husband's like, she's got kind of a low voice. And I'm like, she doesn't have that high-pitched soprano voice that you tend to think of with women. I said, but I love her voice. The tone of it and everything is amazing. Gave me goosebumps.
Yeah, I didn't know she could
her.
sing. Do you watch that show Abbott Elementary that she's on?
No, most commonly she pops into my head when I think about Sister Act 2. Because she played Lauryn Hill's mom. But I've heard her sing before. She's done musicals and stage stuff. So I've heard her sing before. So I knew she could sing. She's one of my favorite actresses. Like they call them character actresses. She plays the same kind of character, like sort of that no nonsense mom. So I love her. And then I don't know if you knew, they showed that flyover with the planes that the Air Force does. That was all female pilots this year.
Oh, really?
And then it was we've talked about this, the first Super Bowl with brothers playing on opposite sides.
Yeah.
Also the first Super Bowl with African American starting quarterbacks on both teams. They had Doug Williams there.
Oh, really?
From the Washington, formerly Redskins, Super Bowl 22, I think 32. I can't remember which one. It was in the 80s. I don't know how long ago that was. So 22, I think, was the MVP of that Super Bowl. And then Harold Carmichael from the Eagles, who just got into the Hall of Fame back in 2020. They had them as sort of, had them up ahead of, for the pregame stuff. I mean, we could talk about the game itself, or we could talk about the commercials. I was really rooting for the Eagles. I just thought with the way they rolled through this season, I thought their defense was better than it was. Jalen Hurts is the real deal. My girl Lisa, who talked to him at the Super Bowl and talked to his agent, he was not getting a lot of hype coming out in that draft. He was getting left to the back of the pack of the quarterbacks, and his agent was doing everything she could to get teams to look at him and notice him. And for the Eagles fans, thank God they did, because he is the real deal. He is everything. 3 touchdowns, first NFL quarterback to get 3 touchdowns in the Super Bowl rushing, second person to get 3 rushing touchdowns in a Super Bowl. Terrell Davis from the Broncos did it back in the day. I think the Eagles offense was everything we thought it would be. For me, the big difference in the game was the fact that Kansas City's defense was able to get a strip sack return for a touchdown. And Philly's, I think it was the third quarter before either team finally had an actual quarterback sack. I was appalled that the Eagles weren't blitzing more. All they talked about was Pat Mahomes and his gimpy high ankle sprain, and he better be careful. And I thought the Eagles blitz would be right up on him and making him scramble and run for his life all day, and nothing, barely any pressure at all. And I'm not giving credit to the Kansas City offensive line because they're not that good. Mahomes has had to scramble this year, and that Eagles defense has gotten its fair. It's like first or second in the league in sacks. So I don't know why they didn't play up to expectations, up to the way they've played all season. So for me, that was the big thing that I noticed in the game, is that the Eagles defense couldn't get a stop in the fourth quarter when they needed to.
They couldn't get one when they counted.
Didn't get a takeaway. They didn't make a big play the way the Chiefs defense did.
Yeah, and that's one of the things that, his only mistake, is one of the things that cost him. But remember, Butker, missed that not the opening kick, but that field goal, that 42-yard field goal try. And recently, dialoguing with Willie, I said that, you got to watch out for him because he might not, come through for you. I mean, yeah, the expectation is for you to make a 22-yard field goal. You better make that. So whatever. But
well, yeah, that was a complete breakdown on special teams for them to be able to run it back into field goal range. Then all they got to do, you're right, it's a 22-yard chip shot. Now all you got to do is kill enough clock so that they don't get the ball back with a lot of time left and score. So, I mean, offensively, it was exactly what I thought it would be. It was a good game. Was, back and forth. I just really wanted the Eagles to win. I just like them. I like their story. I like their uniforms. I like their mascot. I like Jalen Hurts. I like Nick Sirianni. I just like everything that's going on in Philly. And I think Philly is going to be a team to be reckoned with for quite a while. I have a couple Philly fans that I like, hardcore Philly fans that I work with. And I said to both of them today, I'm like, listen, you went to the Super Bowl. I didn't. You've got your quarterback of the future. I don't know that I do. As long as what we always say, as long as Jalen Hurts can stay healthy, they've got their franchise quarterback. And that is the hardest position to fill on a team. So we'll see what they need. I think their offense could use maybe a weapon or two this offseason to help him so that he doesn't feel the pressure to do all that himself. But their defensive coordinator, I think, needs to go. That defense has more talent than what we saw in the Super Bowl. Mm-hmm. And that's the coordinator, right? That's the plays he was calling and the schemes he was doing and the blitzes they were running or not running. So yeah, that's where I'm at with it. The refs had some questionable calls, but frankly, that game was still a game into the fourth quarter. Nothing that changed the game as far as I'm concerned.
So that last penalty, because I posted on Facebook, there always appears to be a magical penalty that comes to help the Chiefs win a game. You think about it happening against the Bengals at the very end as well, that push out of bounds. So there's another penalty in order to get them into scoring range. So I'm like, it's just so funny how that continues to happen. But could the official let that holding call go? Do you make
Greg Olson
call?
on the pod? I thought the announcers were. I was very excited to have Greg Olson because I like when he does the announcing. He doesn't ever seem to favor one team or the other. I like that about him. And even he said, they've been letting him play all day. Like, I get it. Technically, it was a penalty. You can call it, but why wouldn't you let them? Just let him play. Let him play. My husband is convinced it's a conspiracy theory. He's convinced that because Pat Mahomes was the MVP, that they had to do everything they can to let him win. I don't know about that. I know in that Bills game that out of the bounds was just a stupid, don't give them a reason to call a penalty on you. Don't shove the quarterback when he's already out of bounds and give them the ball, not only a first down, but now you've given them the ball in field goal range. I think for that specifically, and we saw some of that Sunday, I think there's a football IQ you need to have to understand situational football. So that time that Nick Chubb was going in for a touchdown and stopped on the 1 yard line, that's football IQ for situational football, for where we were in that game and what was going on and how much time was left and how many timeouts both teams had and what the score was. And all of those elements together calculated, and in Nick's head, he said, I need to step out of bounds. You need a coach to tell him that. He knew that. We need the coaches to start educating these players. When you took that timeout, you should have said to them, you can't afford a penalty. You can't afford this. You can't, you need to watch film and run through some of these things and start getting these guys to think for themselves. They're so used to doing their job and muscle memory, and I have to do this and this and this. Sometimes you don't have to do this and this and this. In certain situations, you don't score the touchdown, or you don't shove the quarterback out of bounds. If he says on the sideline, the coach would say, listen, he's going to probably, if he gets to the first down, just get it out of bounds, stop the clock. A first down doesn't kill us. They're not in field goal range. A penalty puts them in field goal range. Those kind of things, a lot of these players don't know. So when I talk about Nick Chubb or Tom Brady, there's quite a few players in the NFL that see the bigger picture, that understand situational football, that can just tell. They look up, they see the score, they see the time, they look at all of these factors, and they immediately in their head know what to do or what not to do. And I don't think we teach players how to do that, how to figure that stuff out.
Hi, Mickey. We see Mickey. We see you, Mickey. Yeah, because a Kansas City player almost didn't step out of bounds. He almost scored a touchdown at the very end. So when you speak of situational football, he didn't get it. Yes. I think the moment was so big that, it was almost a detriment to his team. And, one of the things, that I was really surprised with the Phillies, not the Phillies, excuse me, with the Eagles, offensively, how they kept having delay of game penalties and could not get the play in appropriately. So, that set them back. The one time it actually ended up being okay, but the rest of the time, that put them in long down situations. So I was a little surprised that they were having, trouble getting the plays in and stuff like that. And
and that's one of Kansas City's strengths. They were the best defense in the league at holding teams on 3rd and long. So they want either to get a sack, to stop the running back behind the line of scrimmage, to force the offense to make a penalty, because on 3rd and long, which is anything over 10, Kansas City was the most efficient in the league in forcing them to punt on 4th down. On the other side of that, you've got the Eagles, who have the best quarterback in the league at 4th and 1 quarterback sneaks, converting 4th down. You just have to be at 4th and 1 to try to convert that. You're not converting on 4th and 12, right? So that was from a game plan standpoint. The Eagles just needed to get 4th and short. The Chiefs had to hold them at 3rd and long, and the Eagles did that work for the Chiefs by committing all those penalties and putting themselves in a 3rd and long position, which is an obvious passing situation because you're not rushing on 3rd and 16.
Mm-hmm.
And Jalen Hurts certainly isn't doing a schemed quarterback run on 3rd and 15, 3rd and 16. So that is an obvious passing situation. And now you don't have enough weapons to, when you're going up against a really good secondary, they didn't have enough weapons. I didn't see like a 3 tight end set, anything like that. They need to get some more passing weapons for Jalen Hurts so that if they end up in these situations, it keeps the secondary and the defense honest by having to cover all those guys in an obvious passing situation. And then maybe you could run in a situation like that and fake them out. So they hurt themselves a lot with that. Jalen did everything he could to get them through and drag them kicking and screaming. So I don't know if it was just the stage was too big for them. I mean, they've got experienced coordinators on that team. I know Nick Sirianni's in his 2nd year and it's a relatively young team, but they need somebody with more experience as offensive and defensive coordinators that can really help them scheme better, because they've had a couple of those games this year. They kind of rolled through the first half of the season, and the last 6-7 games, I thought they weren't matching up well. And when I look back at it, they weren't scheming well. And I don't know how with 2 weeks and the amount of film that you have, you don't scheme better for Kansas City, but they definitely didn't.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, before we go to break, this vaunted defensive line that held all these sacks, Jalen Hurts was getting pressured on almost every throw. That pocket was collapsing because the defensive line, the offensive line was having trouble with Kansas City's defensive line. So that pocket was collapsing for him, where he did have to use his legs to extend plays. But I'm like, where's this, defensive line at? Why haven't they went after Patrick Mahomes? Why haven't they applied the same pressure? Why do you let him, work his magic and get open and, make a 26-yard play to get them in field goal range? And I didn't.
Why you don't cover 2 people on Travis Kelce?
Yeah.
Because they traded Tyreek Hill. Their biggest weapon is Travis Kelce.
You can't.
And he got 2 touchdowns? How you don't have someone on him? Jamar Chase, Travis Kelce, Cooper Kupp. I can make you a list of wideouts in this league that better have 2 people on them at all times. This ain't Revis Island where nobody has one corner that can cover these guys. Get 2 people on them, make them beat you with someone else. You do not let them beat you with their best weapon. That's scheme there. When your defense doesn't have 2 people on Travis Kelce, shame on you. And that play where they lined up weird and faked him out, they ran the exact same thing twice, and the Eagles didn't see it either time. And they both ended up with Kelce scoring. I'm like, Kelce didn't come out of nowhere, people. I would have known to cover Travis Kelce.
Mm-hmm. And, they asked him about Andy Reid, and he's like, Andy Reid schemes me open. He's wide open on a lot of plays. I just think, you're like, why don't they put 2 on him? I don't think anybody can cover him. He's the best tight end in all of football. And,
he is, but you put a corner on him and you have a free safety in the back who's keeping an eye out. And if he thinks the ball's going that way, if nothing else, you got your corner going with Travis. You got the safety coming across the middle, and he either gets up there to help or you got 2 people to take him down if he catches it.
And we're going to talk about that safety help too.
I'm doing X's and O's with my fingers on a camera, and it's reversed, and I can't tell which way I'm going. So I'm going to stop doing that. Can we talk baseball or commercials?
We're going to be right back. Commercials. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM.
And I didn't like any of the commercials this year. There wasn't a single one I'd watch again.
COVID is still in our community, and your health matters to Neighborhood Family Practice. They can help you prevent COVID or other health issues like diabetes, HIV, or high blood pressure. Their providers take the time to know you and understand your health needs and the health needs of your entire family. They accept Medicaid and have openings for new patients. Neighborhood Family Practice takes care of their patients, no matter their ability to pay. Call today at 216-281-0872 or log on to nfpmedcenter.org. Your health matters to Neighborhood Family Practice.
This message is brought to you by Neighborhood Family Practice in 95.9 FM WOVU. Our Voices United. Burtonville Carr Community Radio.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. This is your girl, Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports, and I got Cleveland Kate with me today. So you want to move to baseball right now? You want to talk some Guardians?
I want to talk about the Super Bowl commercials because really they're not good.
Okay, wait.
They're not like in the olden days where there were tons that I watched and then I went and found on YouTube to watch again. They were really not good.
Did you think that Tubi commercial with the remote changing was real? I got caught by that because I looked to see if I was sitting on my remote because I'm like, what did I just do? So apparently I was just looking at articles and millions of people thought that it was their channel was changing because it looked real. You know what I'm saying? Especially, and I was streaming it because for whatever reason, regular Fox on regular network television wasn't working for me. So I had to go to my Fire Stick and actually stream Fox 8 to be able to get the game. So I was actually streaming it. So I thought that I was sitting on it, messing up my remote. So apparently it got a lot of people because it looked really weird.
I did like the one that I thought was real that got me was the one with Sarah McLachlan singing that sad song, you know, that they do on the Dog Pound commercials, and they were showing the wild animals.
Yeah.
And I'm like, good Lord, now she's doing songs for, you know, it's not just the dogs. And then this guy jumps in and goes, no, Sarah McLachlan, this is a beer commercial, and like holds up his beer.
I didn't catch the whole part of that. I just heard her singing.
You got to look for that. That one's because she was in it. You could actually see her in it, singing it. She's in a tent. And then she was like, oh, I'm sorry. Like, I like it when they make fun of themselves when they know that their commercials become a thing. And then there was one for the Jeeps, the electric Jeeps, where they do the electric slide and they'd show a bunch of different animals. There's like a goat and a seal and all these different animals that are doing the electric slide. And then at the end, there's a sloth. So it slows down while the sloth is doing it. So I liked that one, but there weren't a lot.
Yeah, I really didn't pay any attention to the commercials because they're just not really good. So I'm just like, you know, whatever. But Patrick Mahomes, you know, as much as I did not want the Chiefs to win the Super Bowl, as much as I had Chiefs fatigue and I just was over them always winning, because, you know, I like to see a good, healthy, not rotation, but, you know, different teams making it, especially teams that have never made it before. I'm always going to root for the underdog. But do you think that this could be the beginning of a dynasty?
No, because I think that eventually it's going to catch up with Pat Mahomes. This sidearm throwing this throwing off 1 foot off balance. You see him throw those big interceptions. You saw it in the playoffs last year. You've seen it in the way the Browns have played him and the Bengals have played him. That I don't think that. I think it's going to be interesting to see who pops up to give him competition, right? I think they've been winning the AFC by default because there's nobody better, but the Jaguars are scary good. The Bengals last year, this year, they're getting better. I don't know what to say about the Browns because I still don't know what's going on in our quarterback position. I still don't know what Deshaun Watson is. We'll see what next year brings. But in the NFC, I could probably list you 5 teams right now off the top of my head that I think can make a run for the Super Bowl next year. And in the AFC, it's 3 teams. Maybe 4. The Bills, the Bengals, the Jags, and the Chiefs. And everyone else is all meh.
You think the Jags could really be that good?
I do. Looking at what they did this year, I was very impressed with them. I was very impressed with Sunshine and his poise and the way he handled everything. Did you watch the Pro Bowl stuff?
No. We
didn't have a show left. Girl, you need to go find it, stream it somewhere, and watch it. It was awesome. It was amazing. They played 3 flag football games. They did a competition called Move the Chains with 5 offensive linemen, and they had those sleds that they push.
Mm-hmm.
So they had the sled, and it had a bar on the back with 2,000 pounds in weights.
Oh, God.
And then on the front was a chain, and you had to pull it down 10 yards and plant it was like the chains with the down markers on them.
Mm-hmm.
So they were taking the weights off the back of the sled and then pulling them. They had an obstacle course, which is where Myles Garrett dislocated his toe. They had a best catch competition, which reminded me a lot of the NBA's 3 points or the slam dunk where they like jump on the trampoline and do those crazy slam dunks. So in this, your quarterback threw a pass and you went on the trampoline and jumped and did a flip or did whatever and then had to catch it. And then those got graded. They did a thing called kick-tack-toe where you had to hike the ball into a tic-tac-toe board to try to score. It was super fun. It looked like the guys that were playing had fun. Peyton and Eli were the coaches. It went all day. It was so much better than the Pro Bowl crap that we've seen in the past. That it was just basically nobody really trying because nobody wanted to get hurt. They're wearing flags. They were having a ball. It was really good. I was very impressed with it. I love it. I hope they do it again next year. So that was last week, and that was awesome. What were we talking about when I went off on a tangent?
We had just talked about commercials.
Oh, so yeah.
Well, George said the only commercial he enjoyed was the Ben Affleck one and the Dunkin' Donuts. So I missed that one. Mickey says Terry Bradshaw. So I'm not sure if you heard the comments that he was saying.
I did not. I heard he said something about Andy Reid, but I didn't hear what he said.
Well, pretty much he was talking about his weight, calling him let me get to the big guy, and then he said, what did he say? Go have a cheeseburger for us. And then, he said, come on and waddle yourself over here.
So
they said,
well, I get that might seem rude to me or you watching it. They've known each other for 40 years. And if they're friends and they have that kind of a guys busting chops relationship and they talk to each other that way all the time anyway, maybe Andy Reid don't care because that's how Terry and maybe that's how their friendship works.
Yeah,
I don't like it. I don't like, I'll bust chops with people and rip on them and we do it like in a friendly kind of way. But I've always been sensitive to weight issues because I know a lot of people joke about their own weight to cover up the fact that it bothers them. So I don't, and my mom was a very heavyset woman. So I don't think fat jokes are funny. I don't make comments like that. I don't appreciate comments like that. But ultimately, it's up to whether or not Andy Reid was offended by the comments and whether he took them some kind of way. I'm going to stay out of that one. I have a long list of announcers and commentators that I would like to see taken off the airwaves. Joe Buck, before Terry Bradshaw. But part of the problem with Terry Bradshaw is if you listen to him, I don't know if he's got some old man dementia starting or what. He has trouble completing his sentences. Like there have been the last couple weeks where I've been listening to him talk and I'm like, what is he saying? I think he might be getting a little old. He might be losing it. He may not be coming back next year because of that. But I'm not really worried about, if Andy Reid says he's offended, then I will jump on the be offended at Terry Bradshaw train. You know what I mean? Like
I think Andy Reid,
people personally can talk to you in a way other people can't.
I don't think he cared at that moment. He was.
I don't think he did either. He was about to get the Lombardi trophy. And I think a lot of what we saw in the second half, to give credit where it's due, was Andy Reid versus Nick Sirianni. Somebody with as much experience as Andy Reid has against someone in his second season as an NFL head coach and his first Super Bowl. I think that really played into the second half. The way Andy was able to keep them chill at halftime, to say, listen, we know who we are. Let's just keep playing our game. And the way he managed that whole second half really speaks to his experience in the league. And it's one of the benefits you get from a coach with as many years as Andy Reid has as a head coach and as much playoff and Super Bowl experience as he has.
That's a case study and making adjustments. Because I'm not going to lie, I actually fell asleep in the second quarter because it was kind of a snooze fest.
I have friends who were like, I fell asleep in the third quarter and I woke up and I'm like, oh my God, Kansas City won. I'm like, yeah, because the second half was completely different from the first half. I knew at halftime Philly didn't have enough of a lead. I'm like, I need a 21-point lead to make me feel comfortable going into the second half, and they didn't have that. So
like, all right. They had some opportunities.
It went enough of a lead.
But that pretty much was the only mistake Jalen Hurts had made was, switching the ball in his hand and fumbling it. So pretty much he played almost perfect football, which you have to play in order to beat the Kansas City Chiefs. But you watched the team go out and make adjustments during halftime, and then they came back and beat you. They came back from behind. They'll say, talk about the ankle and all that other stuff. Because as soon as the clock hit zero, I turned it off because I didn't want to see Kansas City
Yeah,
celebrating
so did
or
I.
anything like that.
But I will say sometimes the best halftime adjustments are no adjustments at all. Play your game. When we talk about our running game and how our running game pays dividends in the end of the third and into the fourth quarter, even though it's not working, you're still tiring out that defensive line. You're still giving them those body shots that if you just keep doing it, it will pay off, and Nick Chubb will break one through or Kareem Hunt will break one. And I think there are times when the adjustment you make at halftime is more to your mindset. We're not going to change the way we play. We're going to execute better. We're going to be who we are, and we are going to keep going with it. And that's just a mindset adjustment, reminding your team who they are, because they didn't play that much differently in the second half than they did the first. At least the Chiefs didn't. But they kept their head in the game. They came out with a renewed sense of energy and a renewed sense of purpose, and they just looked like they were more confident than the Eagles coming out of the halftime. Plus, it was a very long halftime. Like in the NFL, it's 13 minutes. Basically, by the time you get off the field and get in there and then have to come back out again. For the Super Bowl, they had a 30-minute halftime so Rihanna could play. And so it was a much longer halftime for them. And speaking of Rihanna, I forgot how many songs I love that she sings.
Yeah, she did a great job, and she unveiled that she's
I couldn't tell if
again,
she was lip syncing or not.
Yeah.
I didn't care. I just liked the kind of medley of all of the music because I was just like, I don't know this one. I don't know. Oh, yeah. Oh, I had to go get my Spotify out and I'm like, I need to put that back on my playlist because I had forgotten just how much music she had out there that I liked.
I thought she did a great job. So
I did too.
We're going to go ahead and take our final break. You're listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU at 95.9 FM. We'll be right back.
Now for February 26th, the place to be is the rink at Wade over University Circle. Proudly sponsored by PNC. Every Saturday, partake in free ice skating lessons. That's right, free. And special programs with your family and friends. While you're there, use your rink wristband to enjoy discounts around University Circle. And listen up. I know you're going to be skating. I know it's going to be a little chilly. Warm up with a cup of hot chocolate from the concession stand. So whatever you do, you float, you glide, you slide, you spin it. This winter season at the rink at Wade Oval in University Circle. For more information, visit universitycircle.org/rink. That's universitycircle.org/rink. This message is brought to you by PNC, University Circle Incorporated, and WOVU 95.9 FM. Our Voices United, Burtonville Car Community Radio.
Man, I wanted to finish listening to my song.
Well, what were you listening to?
I was listening to WOVU 95.9 FM.
I'm in Street Live on WOVU.org.
What? All right, I'm on it right now.
Welcome back to Her in the Huddle with Rachel Hill, the First Lady of Sports.
All right. Welcome back to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. And one of the last things I want to say on the Super Bowl before we talk Cavaliers is that, Travis Kelce and Jason Kelce and also Frank Clark from Cleveland all were part of the Super Bowl. So you had some players from Cleveland that contributed as well. Frank Clark's story wasn't really talked about, but the Cleveland Plain Dealer had an excellent story about his story and going to, Ginn Academy, and that saved his life because Frank Clark used to live on Skid Row in Los Angeles. So, football definitely saved his life and changed his life. And it's an excellent story on Cleveland.com about him. So, three guys from Cleveland right next to us pretty much. So, great stories about all of them. Great, a lot of hype for Donna Kelsey. So she's pretty famous right now. But let's get into these Cleveland Cavaliers. So the Cleveland Cavaliers are on a 6-game win streak, and tonight they take on the San Antonio Spurs. And they've been on this winning streak ever since the game against Memphis, where Donovan Mitchell had his little dust up. Do you think it's moments like this that galvanizes a team and are getting us, these results? Because they play the Philadelphia 76ers, I think on Wednesday, and it's been changed to a national game. It was a local game, but it's been changed to a national game. But do you think moments like these galvanize teams?
I think so, because I think there's the typical Cleveland mentality that no one respects us, right? And I think the team in general, but Donovan Mitchell in particular, felt disrespected when he got hit in the no-no place. And he is already, coming back from a groin injury earlier this season. And I loved that he ain't taking that crap from nobody. And I love that JB Bickerstaff after the game says, we are not the team that starts stuff, but we will not back down from stuff. And this schedule that they have been on these last 6 games has been brutal. Thank you, Jesus. We get to play the Spurs with all of 14 wins to their record right now. That game down in New Orleans at 10 o'clock at night,
Yeah.
I still don't understand how we're playing a 10 o'clock game in New Orleans. Then we got to fly home to play the Bulls the next day. That's not like a back-to-back. That's a within 20 hours.
Mm-hmm.
By the time they got home, 4 or 5 in the morning, and then had to be back and play, shenanigans, and yet they're still winning. This team has like another gear. They have this gutsiness to them, and this attitude of nobody can stop us that they've had the last couple weeks. Their consistency has been a lot better. I love, ever since Ricky Rubio has been back, I've just seen more and more positivity from the team, and they're still having fun. Some of the stuff going on with Chetty, I was trying to think of what game it was. We saw the ref called Chetty for a 3-second violation, and he was just, at one point, he just put his foot down and stood there and was like, I'm just going to stand here, and took the penalty, and him at Jared Allen with the laughing, and just, everything that's going on. What I've seen in Okoro's game, what I've seen out of Karis LeVert, just a lot of these guys just really up in their game. All of them, especially the bench guys, knowing their role, understanding what they're supposed to do, the trust that the rest of the team has placed in them to know what they're going to do. This team has really gelled, and I really, 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 I can say really 100 times, think that the effect of that cheap shot on Donovan and him standing up for himself did something to this team to make them say, you know what? If they're not going to respect us, we are going to demand respect, and we are going to play in a way that means nobody can look past us and nobody can overlook what we are and what we are doing. And they're stepping up. And I think that's exactly why we have a national game this week, why we have to shine in that game. Mm-hmm. And hope we do. But I have full faith that we will.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. It's a tough matchup with Joel Embiid. Jared Allen is just so skinny that, Joel Embiid is kind of able to get what he wants. So you allow that to happen and make others beat you, because he's going to play his game. But, they added Danny Green, excuse me. He's back with the team that drafted him. So, they're looking at him to bolster the bench and help with some 3-point shooting, because I want Isaac Okoro to stop shooting threes. I kind of want Evan Mobley to stop shooting as well, because they're going down on occasion. So I kind of want them to stop, doing that. But he has 3 rings, so, he brings that veteran experience to the Cavs. He also, brings, a long time of playing in NBA. He's been in there 14 years. He's going to make $2 million. So tonight the Cavs are actually taking on the Spurs. So they're going to get a little get back from that 1-point loss in San Antonio when they failed to beat them in San Antonio. So
I think they have a different mentality this time around. It's not, I don't care if it's Joel Embiid. I don't care if he's going to the All-Star game or not. I don't care about any of that. And the team doesn't care about that anymore. If we play Cavaliers basketball, we will beat them by 20 points. without batting an eye. We need to not worry about what they do. We need to do what we do. And that seems to be where JB has finally gotten them over the last week, is we need to do what we do and we'll be fine.
Yeah, and we're also getting some wins on the road. So getting that win against the Pelicans, was a huge win as well. So being able to get those road wins and maybe, like I said, are they turning a corner where things are coming together for this team? That remains to be seen. But, they probably might have the third or fourth seed going into the playoffs. So, that would be awesome for them. And that addition of Danny Green and Ricky Rubio, having those players that have been to the playoffs before. I think even Jared Allen with the Brooklyn Nets, his playoff experience will help a little bit because this is a very young team, and also Donovan Mitchell. They didn't really advance far in those playoffs, but he has that playoff experience to lift that team. So now that's when it's very important, because I don't know where Kevin Love is at. I don't even see him down on the bench or anything like that. So
he was hurt for a little bit. He's there. I just like, we're only a game behind the 76ers. And we've got, we've played 3 more games than them. I'm not sure how that happens at this point in the season, that we've played that many more games to them, other than we've just had so many games on consecutive days without a break. But we're just a game behind them, and they're in third in the East. So we can easily, if we can, stay on pace with them, we can easily take the 3rd seed, which I would rather have than the 4th seed. Not going to lie. The Bucks are hot. They're on a 10-game winning streak, but I don't care what the Celtics and the Buccaneers are doing. I'm worried about what the Cavs are doing. We just need to win our games. I want to stay close to the 76ers because I think we can easily get up into 3rd. And I'm going to try not to laugh when the Dallas Mavericks completely fall apart after picking up Kyrie Irving. Because let's face it, how many teams have thought, oh, if I could just get Kyrie Irving, it'll turn everything around. And he has exploded every team he has been on since leaving Cleveland. Good luck, Dallas.
Yeah. Got a quick comment by Ricky. It's not about basketball, but it's about the Super Bowl. And he says it was one for the ages. As a Black man, I'm very proud of both quarterbacks' performance. So much for the stereotype that Black men can't lead their teams to the top because of a lack of intelligence. That theory needs to become extinct like dinosaurs. And congrats to Cleveland Heights native Travis Kelce as well. So thank you, Ricky. We appreciate you. But yeah, and then Kevin Durant going to the Phoenix Suns. So, I don't know. Do you consider him a little cancerous, a little toxic at all?
Kevin Durant?
Yeah.
No, I don't. I was very puzzled by the move. I didn't understand that one. Kyrie, I couldn't believe anybody wanted him. But we talk all the time in any sport about Antonio Brown or Josh Gordon or some of these players who are 8 shades of crazy. And we're like, why would another team want Kyrie Irving? If they have talent, somebody will take them.
Yeah.
I don't put Kevin Durant in that bucket. I don't know why he wanted out, why they wanted him out, why they were willing to move him. I wish him the best. I like him, but I don't think he's a head case or a cancer in the locker room the way some of these other guys are that we talk about.
Yeah, Kyrie has skills, and that's why he's won it. And Kevin Durant, like you said, I don't really know. He signed as a free agent with the Warriors, and then he left the Warriors, I guess, because him and Green couldn't get along, so that was an issue for him. So he ended up leaving the Warriors, came to Brooklyn, and they only played 16 games together. James Harden, Kyrie Irving, and Kevin Durant only played 16 games together. So much for that experience. So that team had a lot of potential. But Cleveland Kate, that's our time. So I want to thank you so much. It passed fast, didn't it?
I'm like looking at the clock going, oh my goodness.
Yeah.
You just let me talk for an hour. Thank you, Rachel.
Well, thank you so much for being here. We're about to go. You've been listening to Her in the Huddle on WOVU 95.9 FM. We are out of here.